So here we have the Sikaflex 268 PowerCure applicator. It's a full system. Effectively, what we have here is the ability to take off the end cap. What we do is we hold the button in the back, which allows us to put the Sikaflex 268 PowerCure Unipack into the applicator. I find this really helps because directly you can move the material into the applicator very easily. A couple of good things just to explain here. What you have with Sikaflex 268 PowerCure is the main body of the adhesive and a boosted component, so you're achieving a chemical cure. When we come to put the nozzle into the applicator, as you'll see shortly, then that is piercing the two separate pieces of the adhesive that is then mixed completely in the nozzle. It's always important to check that you've got adhesive that's in date. So when we come to put the adhesive into the applicator, you can see here that I'm sliding it into the two little slots, holding the pin in here, and then directly you can push it back and you see then that it's fully loaded. Here you have a speed that varies the speed of the application, and this is also varied on the trigger finger. So I find often, unless I'm doing intricate bond lines, I put this on max and then control it from the trigger finger. New batteries, slightly bigger, so it works all day long for most applications. And then there you can see that you've got a full charge. Important to note with the end cap, it's designed that you can put in your various different nozzles. These are the two standard ones from Sika, where you have the round nozzle that's applied like this, connect them together, and then you can cut specific V's, etc. that you want, or you can have a tight nozzle as it's shown here, or you have the quite standard use for the adhesive bead, the V-cut nozzle, and this is connecting to the applicator, doing all of the mixing in the nozzle. Now, just good to mention, these end caps, they come as spare pieces, and these two flanges here and here are designed so that if there was too much force coming through the applicator, that these would fail rather than having the material coming out within the gun. So that's just good to note, to have a couple of spares around. So when we come to assemble the applicator, we put the end cap in position. We then put our nozzle into position like so. And we put the end cap on, install, and then that's pierced the two components of the adhesive Unipack. So what we'll then do is we'll move on to just purging out some of the unit. So what you'll hear as we start up the applicator, you'll hear quite a lot of mixing in the initial period, and from there, right at the end, you'll hear a couple of cracks and pops as it's coming close to completing the mix, just like that. And then you'll see a tip of the nose, and there you hear the gear change, and then the material is about to come out. So we purge off 150 millimeters so that we know that we've got a stable mix. And that noise there is the retraction, or automatic retraction of the pin, so you're not continuously pumping out material. Right, so what Neil is doing now is he's gunning out the Sikaflex 268 PowerCure. He's putting a continuous bead of material such that there's no break in the material and no opportunity for air entrapment. What you can also see is Neil is pulling the applicator towards him, which once again gives him the most control in how he is applying the material. And he's also applying the adhesive on the outside of the spaces such that we have a continuous bead of adhesive. So with Sikaflex 268 Power Cure, you have a stable open time of around 30 minutes. So now we're about to get the window bonded into position. Right, so on purpose we're being careful to touch only the edge of the glass, so not the area that's got the pre-treatment on it. We're offering it up with two of us to get it exactly where we want it. And we're putting our bottom recessed spacers in so that we know that on the bottom and the top we have the exact space that we designed to have, the 10 millimeters. Yeah? Is it central on your side? So what we're now doing is compressing the window towards the substrate using our pre-dry fitted system in order to bring the window towards the substrate and can compress up to the spacers that we put in to the joint. Okay, so what Neil is doing in this situation is on one part he's forcing the excess 268 Power Cure into the joint to stop any air gaps and to make sure as much is in the joint as possible. Secondly, he's also cleaning that area so you don't have any lumps and bumps, because that can make it more difficult to tool the backfill, because you'll get an overcapacity in some areas and an under in others. So this gives you a more consistent ability to tool the backfill, much like you see just here. Neil will work that into the corner so you've got a consistent backfill to work with. Lastly, what you see Neil is doing is he's removing any excess 268 from the glass or from the ship structure, which ultimately means that it reduces the amount of cleaning. This is far easier to clean 268 now before it cures, while you've got the chance to get it while it's wet. Now, Sikaflex 268 Power Cure will take 8 hours to cure to 80% of its full strength. It will then, much like an electric car, it will cure quickly to 8 hours, and then after that, its last 20% will happen over a 7-day period. From the cure of the 8 hours, we will then be able to backfill the joint, and we can release the fixation pins because it will have sufficient strength to hold most glass windows in. Of course, if there are really big windows, very heavy, then it's worth considering that maybe a little bit extra time is required. So we've applied the masking tape around this area to make sure that we protect the substrate from the primer. This is completely your choice, application dependent. We're going to remove the masking tape so that we can then apply the backfill, and we find that it's much better to apply the backfill without the masking tape there, because if you remove it at the point that you have the backfill in position, it can sometimes drag the adhesive, which can make finishing more difficult. It also hides in some areas the hard, crisp edge that you're looking for, so we find it's much easier to remove it now, backfill, treat to that backfill and that hard edge, and then you get that crisp finish we're all looking for from windows. Right, so we've now bonded the window in. We've also gone round it, as Neil showed you, with pushing the material into the bond line to make sure we've got a full bond in that area, and it also means that we've then got an easy backfill to go into. What's always good at the end is just to check, as you can see there, you see a good distance between the edge of the substrate and the edge of the window. You can see that the window is sitting slightly back from the edge of the substrate. Again, we do this so that that's an extra protection to the edge of the window, which is the weakest part. If it was to take a shock from there, the window will crack. Okay, so once we finish using our 268, Sikaflex 268 Power Cure, then it's always good to remove the tube, the Unipack, from the applicator. what you can do is you can put in the nozzle. Because the two materials are separated like you see here, you can see the main body of the material and the boosted component, and because that's completely separated, we can write the date on there and use this material, the rest of what's available in here, within the next 7 days. We're coming to the point now when we're ready to backfill. So what's important now is that we need to reactivate the prime surface of where the backfill will go. So that's on the edge of the recess and also the cavity down there. So, you know, we've written on this so we know that we can use this from yesterday. We are going to pull out a bit of material because we never want to go into that, because otherwise we're double dipping and we could contaminate what's in there. Put that over there. What we've done is, with a spacer, we've got our lint-free cloth, we've got our bottom edge and edges around so that we can pre-treat that cavity. So we've got our wipe on, wipe off. Right, so then we continue working our way round with our wipe on, just to reactivate the prime surface. Okay, so now with our dry lint-free cloth, we're then going to just wipe off, just so we can finish the pre-treat of the backfill and the reactivation process. Okay, so what we're going to do now is that we are going to pre-treat the internal surface to reactivate the surface. So again, using Seeker Activator 100. We're going to be doing this in a wipe on, wipe off motion. We get our lint-free cloth, fold it around a spacer, and then you get the ability to just get that tool up and there, wipe off to finish the reactivation. And there you have it. Quick and simple, we've reactivated the internal and the external part of the backfill, which allows us now to crack on with backfilling the recess, so we get that nice crisp outer edge, and more importantly we protect the external edge of the window, and added protection so that if anything was to hit it, then we're doing our best to protect the edge, which is the most sensitive part of the window. And we're also protecting the entire bond line from UV and the marine elements that the ship will face in its life cycle.